I have a quote back there on my wall. It says, attention pays attention to a lot of things. But when attention pays attention to attention, then it introduces you to yourself. And what it's really talking about, I think that's a quote from Muji. Don't fully recall right now, but what that quote is really talking about is the knowingness with which you know this moment, the underlying reality that is always present, that is always constant, that is the fundamental aspect of our experience. But it completely goes unnoticed and neglected because attention is constantly hooked onto something, whether it be an external circumstance, person, thoughts, emotions. So we've been quite literally conditioned to live in this way. We're brought up in this way, where even the idea that we have of me is just this body, this physical body, which is self, is an object of perception. And we're conditioned to always be focused on something. We're always just running about, always, even when, always keeping our attention hooked onto some sort of activity. And even when we do sit down, we always have to be thinking about something. The mind doesn't want to stop because that would ruin the illusion. That would ruin the constant mind control. But that is what is required for you to actually recognize what is still here and present when all this external stimulation, mind stimulation, is not here. Because that can quickly become your sense of reality. Matter of fact, it has. So what this quote is really talking about, attention paying attention to attention. And that is when you recognize yourself. That is when you meet your true self. That is what opens you up to recognizing the underlying beingness through which you know anything. The knowingness which comprises knowing, with which you know experience. That beingness is the true self, is the true seat of experiencing, of being aware of what is currently in your perception. So until you know yourself, there's an amazing quote in The Power of Now. Eckhart says, if you don't know yourself, even if you have great material wealth, you're still a beggar. And it's a cool play on words, because it's showing you that if you invest your entire life, your entire sense of self in that which is material, in that which is passing, even if you have great material wealth, even if you do so well in the physical, you're still bound. You're still a slave to your mind. And you're always still going to be in fear, in unfulfillment, in anxiety, because your entire sense of self is invested in that which is coming and going. So until you actually know yourself and you feel that innate oneness with being, as being, then there can never really be an authentic relationship with anything that comes in your experience. And there will then always be a sense of, I am this separate fragment, separate from all of existence, and I have to, chase, and my happiness is over there. And so that is really the purpose of self-inquiry. Looking deeper into one's own nature and learning to bring attention back into its source. And being more interested in reality rather than what you consider to be reality. What do I mean by that? When we begin the process of self-inquiry, a shift has to take place. You now have to become more interested in being aware of your experience rather than what you are experiencing. You have to be more interested in being aware that you are thinking rather than thinking the thoughts themselves and what the story of the thoughts that they're imposing on you and whatnot. You have to be more interested in being aware of eating rather than experiencing eating itself. And this doesn't take away from experience in any way. Matter of fact, it actually adds a whole new dimension to experience. And it allows you to experience from your true position. Prior to knowing yourself, when you're identified constantly, heavily as this body, mind, you are just a movie character in the film, believing that he or she is doing things, he or she is the experiencer, the thinker, and everything. Now, a subtle shift begins to take place. You become more interested in being aware of even the movie character projecting all these sorts of thoughts, beliefs, emotions, activities. And there's an instant detachment between me and all that is perceived to come and go. So that is why self-inquiry is so important, because until we open up to what we really are at our source, and we start to recognize that at a deeper experiential level, not just a belief, and we start to abide more and more as that, in that knowingness, as that knowingness, in that beingness, as that beingness. Until then, we can never really live freely. Even if our personal experience is free, I have the job that I want, I have the money that I want, I have the relationship, still the mind will be restless. Still, the mind will be projecting a happier future or some sort of problems. A mind will be projecting fear, separation. So we still remain a slave to the mind. A happy ego is still a miserable ego. The ego is never happy for more than just a small period of time until it starts to project something else. So our goal with this whole thing is not also to become a spiritual ego, but rather just to transcend identification with ego and recognize what I actually am experientially. And the simplest way of doing that, attention turning inward, meaning attention on attention. Ask yourself, am I aware in this moment? The moment you ask yourself that question, what happens to your attention? Previously, it is always just going out, right? I could tell you, focus your attention on this video. Now focus your attention so intentfully on the voice, the sound of my voice. Now focus your attention so intensely on your left arm. So attention constantly just hooks onto everything, right? Now when I ask you the question, are you aware? Now focus your attention to find that question. Find the answer to that question. What do you see that happens? The moment you ask yourself, am I aware? Attention quite literally just doesn't even know what to do with itself for a couple of seconds. And if you really stay in this, right? If you continue to see, okay, where am I aware? Then attention starts to subside into its source. It can't go anywhere externally to come up with an answer, am I aware? It has to go directly to the experience of being aware, which is not an objective experience. That's for a different video. We'll get into detail on that in a different video. But the easiest way to inquire into your true nature and experience this is asking yourself, am I aware? Or different variations of the same question, who am I? what is this me? Right? All these questions seek to turn attention onto itself, metaphorically, but really it's a letting go of focusing your attention on external things and subsiding attention back into its source from where it originates. Awareness, knowingness. So lastly, I'll just reiterate that quote one more time. Attention pays attention to a lot of things. But when attention pays attention to attention, then it introduces you to yourself. So in this way, introduce yourself to yourself, recognize at a deeper level what you truly are, and start to live from that space. Start to abide as that, because it will make your life much simpler. Okay? It will bring you true power rather than constantly putting your power in things, in mind. And it will ultimately break identification with mind and all your suffering and all the clouds that are currently covering your clarity, your true happiness. All right? Implement this, practice this. If you have any questions about it, let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. But other than that, if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you want to dive deeper into this and you want my personal help to shift from ego to presence, then apply for my coaching program down below. Other than that, subscribe to this channel and I will see you in the next video.